Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 18 of season 3 of our F125 Red Bull Driver Career Mode. Yes, we return this weekend here to Marina Bay and of course the Singapore Grand Prix. If you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Baku, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. We had a rather weird race out in Azerbaijan. We had a wet race, which in of itself, I don't think it's never happened in Baku IRL. And worse than that, I had a mechanical failure. Our first DNF of the season, and Lando Norris, I'm getting very nervous now, is getting alarmingly close in the World Championship. In the last 3 Grand Prix, we have scored 27 points. The McLaren has scored 68. So we now have owning a 19-point buffer at the top of the championship, and well, it wasn't that long ago that I felt pretty comfortable into these final few races, and things are really taking a turn for the worse. We've lost the Constructors' Championship lead as well. McLaren now 29 points ahead, so we desperately need Verstappen to try and pull his weight. But as I've mentioned before, the problem is that Verstappen and I are in such kind of a headlock as to who deserves to be the dominant driver that neither of us can access some of the remaining upgrades on this game, because neither of us have the recognition to do so. We're so kind of even in Red Bull's eyes, despite the fact that I'm absolutely dominating over our teammate, that it is causing real concerns. And honestly, whether we win this championship or not, I think one of us is going to have to go come the end of the campaign, because it is just such a headlock between myself and the Dutchman at this stage of the year. Of course, if you're new and you aren't already, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed for, of course, wherever we might be heading next, ready for Season 4. But yeah, I'm hoping that we can at least return to winning ways here in Singapore, because this is probably one of my best tracks on the game. Well, as the sun sets then around the track, Formula 1's original night race is back alive once again, and I must admit, qualifying is always fantastic to watch around this circuit. But let me tell you now, this Red Bull is scary around this track. It's alright around most of it, but where it is so oversteery, the final couple of corners are brutal, and well, I'll be impressed if we make it through the entire weekend without any kind of issues through that final couple of turns. But if we can get the car on pole position, then I'm happy just to try and park it up at the front of the order as well there. Lando Norris, of course, he'll be looking to try and get another victory on the board, but we'll wait and see what happens here. Of course, Oscar Piastri, still don't know, of course, how Oscar won that race last weekend, but he was able to get the jump on his teammate. Probably not ideal for McLaren, because of course both of them obviously want to help win the Constructors, but obviously Lando Norris is with a mathematical shot at the Drivers' Championship. Oscar Piastri still technically there, but he's not going to be, I would have thought, by probably Mexico. It is going to be a 2-horse race if things keep going the way they are. But so far then, this first lap not feeling too badly. It's talk of the devil. Oscar Piastri goes to the top of the board there as we will go purple through that middle sector, getting a nice slipstream off of Pierre Gasly. Hulkenberg doesn't want to help her brother out though, as we make our way down in towards the final couple of corners then. So just trying to dive it in nice and late. And now, of course, after doing most of the hard work, I've got to keep it clean and tidy through these final couple of turns. Flick it in. You can already hear the wheel spin at the back of the car. We end up going P3, slower than Max Verstappen. Making our way then out, ready for our second and final run then. Everybody else coming towards the end of their laps. But I've left it as late as we possibly can. Verstappen now up at the top of the pile. He's 4 tenths quicker than what I've done so far in this session. But let's just see if we can find any more then. Is getting over the start-finish line. We're less than 10 seconds left on the clock there, and immediately the car wants to dance around through turn 1 and turn 2. Verstappen even quicker though, still on a 1:20.822. But that is a very, very good lap time by our teammate then. And like I said, we need close to half a second here if we want to try and claim pole position. But I've got to hope, yeah, that some of the AI don't block me, don't get in the way around this lap there, because obviously the dirty air can be such a great kind of dampener of pace and confidence, especially in a Red Bull car, that feels incredibly slip-slidey. So far though, the lap's starting to come together, almost quarter of a second up by the time we get down through the old Singapore sling. Interesting spot for Gabriel Bortoleto to let us by there, but able to rotate the car over that curb and not get too much of a bounce on the exit over the Anderson Bridge. Nice and tidy. We are still 2 tenths up. Might lose a little bit of speed down in towards this final sector. Of course, no Pierre Gasly to give me a nice tow this time round, but just still having to manage the throttle on corner exit there. It is so tricky, and at the moment, I don't think we'd improve up the order at all then. Nice and late on the brakes through this final chicane. Can we find any more through the exit of the final couple of corners? We are putting it all on the line as we rotate the car through. Will it at least be the front row? Yes, it is. Well, there we go. By 3/1000ths of a second, we have outqualified Oscar Piastri and will join our teammate Max Verstappen on the front row of the grid. Lando Norris, he'll be disappointed down in P4, but it is both Red Bulls and both McLarens right up at the sharp end. Charles Leclerc just ahead of Russell and Hamilton. Both Haas cars getting up inside the top 10, so a brilliant effort by them, just clear of Esteban Ocon. But yeah, Franco Colapinto, Andrea Kimi Antonelli right down at the rear of the field, just ahead of those two V-carbs. We need to beat Lando Norris tonight, but is there going to be fireworks between ourselves and our teammate?
Marina Bay hosted a Grand Prix that briefly ran in the 60s and 70s, but the Garden City re-entered the calendar for good in 2008. We missed it for a couple of years, but it was great to come back to the Singapore Grand Prix. And here's our track, 4.94 kilometres long, and overtaking chances into the first corner, into turn 14 at the end of the Esplanade, and now into turn 16 in the newly reprofiled sector that we first ran on in 2023. Still though, it's punishing and tough on the brakes, and the heat and humidity will take an effect on our drivers. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Mr. Monaco completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Piastri, Leclerc, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Behrman, Stroll, Ocon, Hülkenberg, and Jack Doohan, Sainz, Norris, Pierre Gasly, and Bortoletto, Russell, Colapinto, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, and Liam Lawson. Hadjar and Alex Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Well, with Max Verstappen and I on the front row, this is exactly what we needed after losing the Constructors' Championship lead last weekend. We want to try and get it back, and get it back as soon as possible here. But will we work together? Is Verstappen only interested in trying to keep his stock high towards the end of the season and remind Red Bull as to why they've put so much faith in him in the past? Only time will tell as we get ready then for the Singapore Grand Prix. Lando Norris with grid penalties. It's 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we wheel spin there, and immediately we're going to come under pressure. Oscar Piastri around the outside, and Charles Leclerc trying to have a look as well. I get the elbows out. I do not want to get stuck behind a hard compound runner early on, as apparently already we're struggling with mechanical wear on the car. Not too sure what that is. That is the ICE then that is quite heavily worn. Luckily, Singapore isn't the most power-sensitive circuit in all of Formula 1 as well. But yeah, with Lando Norris starting a bit further down, it does give us a huge opportunity today, even if I play it safe, even if I just play the bigger picture, just to try and give ourselves a bit of a healthier buffer once more up at the top of the table. But again, this is Singapore and anything can happen around this venue. Is just trying to keep it composed around this opening lap. That is goal number 1. Keep it out of trouble, keep it tidy, and make sure, of course, that we don't damage the wing. Quite surprised so many drivers towards the front have opted to start on the harder compound here. Maybe just not sure about tyre wear. But, I mean, I would kind of expect McLaren and Red Bull to run away early on. And that is exactly what your trio at the front are going to try and do. There's Oscar Piastri there trying to stick close to Verstappen, but could come under pressure from us, hopefully sooner rather than later. I mean, yeah, the Red Bull, like I said, it feels sketchy here, but it does feel quite quick, and that is often where Verstappen thrives. Yes, I know, you already told me. Luckily, I've already got the ERS switched off then as we try and recharge the pack. But come on, just settle in. Looks like Verstappen then has already been able to get Oscar Piastri out of his DRS range, so hopefully that is going to leave the McLaren vulnerable by the time we get round to the Raffles Boulevard. Let's just wait and see, though. Not going to hold my breath just yet there as well. Trying to get the power down nice and tidy through the exit of the corner. Surely now we can get a run on Oscar Piastri there as he will swing defensive in that McLaren. But this Red Bull has got some pretty good straight line speed there. Again is the wobble from the rear end, but around the outside we will go. And I'm sure Zach Brown not too happy about that one. Oscar Piastri, he knows he's got to try and defend from us this afternoon, but he's not going to be able to. And now we get to try and chase our teammate once again. I tell you what then, as we get to the end of lap 4, Verstappen is pushing here. This might be one of those weekends where Verstappen is just destined to win. I know I've spoke about it before on this game, but occasionally you just get races where he is utterly OP and nobody can try and keep up with him. And if you get quicker, so does he. Ham's draining a lot of battery right now. There you go. There's the oversteer that I spoke about earlier on. As we get one big over-rotation there, and Oscar Piastri will say thank you very much. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton as well might be able to try and get a run. And that means now Verstappen has got even more breathing room up at the front of the order. But that's exactly what I mean. You try and tip the car in, and it's fine. It grips up. But if you just overstep the mark even a tiny bit, the back end just immediately swings round. Lucky not to do any damage. And we'll live to fight another day. I don't know if Oscar Piastri has just been told when he is ahead of me just to try and back us up into the rest of the pack, because it seems like when I'm ahead he's pretty quick, but when he's ahead he seems to really struggle to maintain much speed here as well. Down in towards that final chicane. Again, you can see how much we gain on the brakes. He's very good in the traction zones there as flick it through that final corner. Again, just got to be very careful that you don't bottom out off the curbing.
Teammate ahead of us. 5.4 seconds.
Well, that obviously spin helped give Verstappen an even bigger margin at the front of the order, but we might genuinely not see him again this afternoon. That being said, those red flag safety cars all can be a thing here in Marina Bay as well. That is not the line.
Okay, Piastri just ahead. Push hard, push hard.
Let's see if we can try and get a run down the Raffles Boulevard once more.
Push.
Look at that, we're barely gaining anything on the McLaren man. I've just got no power. This time around we might be able to get a run on Oscar Piastri once again. As diving water to the inside there. The McLaren man tried to turn in, but we were alongside him and we stayed committed to it. Make sure we give him the room on the exit of the corner there. Still wheel to wheel we go. It's Oscar Piastri. I mean, you can just see how confident he is on the brakes. Around or outside there, banging wheels though, as we make our way down in towards the old sling there. Careful not to hit the wall. And nothing Oscar Piastri can do around the outside. Back up into second spot then in this race. So, I mean, we've got to try and keep these tyres on the wagon to at least about lap 14. I guess we can thank, though, the Hasses and the Hulkenbergs of this race so far. Because behind Charles Leclerc and Hamilton, there is a huge gap. We've got yellows. That would appear to be an Aston Martin there of Esteban Ocon. As whilst trying to look at the mini-map, I've almost slid off into the wall. Down at the top of the circuit. But yeah, I think that is Ocon then that is going to become our first retirement of the afternoon. As I was just monitoring the gap to Verstappen, he does seem to be struggling a little bit now, so I think he went uber aggressive at the start of the race to try and build up a bit of a gap. If I can get back within a couple of seconds of him by the pit window, obviously we do get priority call according to F125, so that would be really ideal if it's something we can do. But I mean, these tyres really now are feeling like jelly. But as the gap now under 3 seconds to Verstappen, I'm really having to try and focus up. But you can see this is where McLaren's advantage really comes into play. That ability to look after the tyres much better than anybody else can. Especially around a circuit like this that is just so much kind of point and shoot. So many short traction zones that really load up the rear tyres as well. It's something that this Red Bull has struggled with all year long. And Verstappen, yeah, try as he might early on, able to pull out that margin. It is all starting to crumble away from him. I think we'll be pitting probably end of 15 if I had to guess. So as long as we're in kind of a second and a half, 2 seconds of him, surely the undercut is going to be doable. Because these mediums are going to be wrecked. I genuinely don't think this Red Bull has ever felt this bad before this season. It's just so skatey, slow-sidey, whether it's the setup, whether it is obviously the Singapore circuit, or a combination of all of the above. We are really struggling here, but apparently not as much as our teammate Max Verstappen. I mean, if he finds out, of course, that we get the first pit stop, he is going to be apoplectic with rage. But that's kind of the way this game works. at the moment, as Oscar Piastri still breathing down my neck. Will he dive in with us, or will he try and go the 1 lap extra and maybe look to try and get an overcut here? As engine warning light, tyre wear warning light, they're all flashing up now like a Christmas tree on the dash. But still, we are closing in on our teammate, and we might finally be able to get some DRS off of him. I mean, this Red Bull, when you can keep it kind of where it needs to be here, it is phenomenally quick. But it just feels like you're walking on a tightrope of just any moment you can get some oversteer, like we saw down at the hairpin. Are we inside the DRS range now? Oh, Verstappen again, you can just see there as we get in the dirty air, really beginning to struggle to find the grip, but surely we're going to come out ahead of the Haas cars, as we've got yellow flags further back, up around that Singapore sling. No idea, I assume it's a car breaking down, but I don't know who it is at the moment. It's a safety car. Would be perfect for us, but a red flag would be terrible. Ooh, just about get the car slowed down at the end of the pit lane. But as we try and bolt on, then they fresh set of hard tyres to go to the end. Doesn't look like we've got anything. So I think there was just a bit of an incident. Maybe, you know, someone had a small error or something like that. But we need to come out ahead of the Haas cars here, and I'm not sure we will. Stroll and Behrman, they're still battling it out with each other. As I believe Hulkenberg into the pit lane as well. As long as we don't come out right up their gearbox, which I don't think we will. Ooh, Stroll with a bit of a lock-up down at turn 1 as well then. So we will come out with a little bit of clear air. So we've got yellows down at the final corner. That is a red flag! For God's sake, man, it's one of the V-carbs I think's gone. I'm sure I'll put a replay up on your screen, but how bad is my luck on this game? As soon as we pit, red flag out, and everybody else is going to be able to try and jump us. Verstappen's going to be way out in front. I think we're only down to like P5, P6, I want to say. Rain?
Nice advantage here. Let's have a think about how we handle the rest of this race.
Well, I think I still want to be on the harder compound, to be honest. Obviously, we've barely driven about 20 feet on them out of the pit lane, haven't we? But, yeah, heavy rain meant to be falling then by the end of the afternoon. So how will that affect things around this track? But still, we've got quite a few laps to go. And we now are back on the recovery drive. 5 red lights are on. It's going to be lights out, and away we go then. I mean, that couldn't have worked out much better for those two Haas cars as well. Down in towards this first turn, though, we've got to try and make an impact nice and quickly. As around the outside of Behrman we will go, and hopefully around the outside of Sir Lance as well. Be careful, his zero awareness stat inside this game could really screw us over, as Piastri has lost a place to Charles Leclerc as well then. Of course, obviously, I would have rather that we didn't have to pit and immediately get a red flag, but it's not worked out too badly for us in this race, as all Leclerc immediately locking up at the top of the circuit. But how will he and Hamilton get on the mediums towards the end of the afternoon? As I almost immediately take myself out of the equation. Got more yellows out down at the final corner. That seems to be a V-carb into the pit lane then, so not too sure what happened there.
Our gap on the car behind by around a second a lap.
We're down to 16 runners in this race. Of course, you guys have seen the replay. I have no idea what happened, but I think Antonelli, Colapinto as well are both gone from this race. But of course, this worked out so well for Verstappen, because effectively, he basically got like 2 extra laps for free out of those mediums in the first stint, where we were definitely going to get the undercut on him based on how these feel immediately on the restart. But I'm now just more nervous about if that rain is going to arrive by the end of the afternoon. Let's try and listen in for a weather report.
Look stable at the moment. No rain currently expected. Dries definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
Wonderful. So even if we do get some rain, it probably won't fall till right come the checkered flag. And that hopefully will mean it won't play an impact. Well, someone keeps bringing out yellow flags down at the final couple of corners, and I've got no idea what they're doing. Yes, here we go. Leclerc and Piastri now wheel to wheel through these first few corners of Sector 2. Who will come out on top of this one? So Hamilton, they're just waiting in the wings, but he knows we are going to be trying to get through as quickly as we possibly can. But it is Oscar Piastri that will hang on to the spot for now then. Yep, that'll be our teammate Max Verstappen. Mark, thank you for that one. But yeah, not able to get close enough over the Anderson Bridge. Maybe around the outside though, off the exit. How have we found that? Round the outside of Lewis Hamilton we will go then. And up into P4 once again at this Grand Prix. I want to try and get back to P2 as soon as possible. But of course, yeah, Charles Leclerc and Lewis, they'll both know They don't have to be really gentle with those mediums. They will make it to the checkered flag. But they do definitely have to look after them. But that Alpine then in the rear of the field, I've obviously got no idea what's going on, but they seem to be bringing out yellow flags everywhere, but have not retired from the Grand Prix. Every single lap they seem to be doing something hilarious down to that final corner, and I'm getting slightly concerned that that might cause havoc. We've already taken half a lap out of them in about 3 here, so I think they're in big trouble, but just won't admit it. Watch this then on the minimap as we make our way. I'll probably try and get a replay up on your screens actually of that AI. The end of lap 21 makes their way down towards the final chicane. Fairly standard stuff up to this point, but it seems to be through the higher speed stuff where they're really struggling. So again, I thought for a moment, oh, we had yellow flags out, but look at that. I don't know if they're trying to pit or kind of what's going on, but they just seem to stop through that final corner and then get going again. Whether they've spun, whether they're trying to get into the pit lane and have missed the entry and gone over the white line, I've got no idea. But you guys now know, and I'm going to probably find out very, very soon. They've got again down at turn 2.
Okay, expect to see some rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now.
Okay, that hopefully shouldn't be much of a problem with less than 10 to go. Well, post-race Matt then coming in with a bit of an interlude here, because this has got to be one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen inside F1 25. So this was all the way back on lap 15. Pierre Gasly making his way up in towards the old Singapore sling. He's going to make a bit of a mistake as he tips it in, just gets the oversteer, hits the wall, and obviously must have damaged his rear wing, because every single lap now for the rest of the afternoon, he is basically trying to drive a drifter. I mean, look at this, down in towards this next corner. Back end's completely snapped out on it. I mean, he's basically getting the Red Bull experience at the moment, but this is what's happening now every single lap, and obviously this is what caused that incident a few laps ago, obviously with all of those cars behind him, because if you just take a look then, obviously from Gasly's POV, you see him spin up the road, everybody tries to avoid it, and people just absolutely shunt into it. Gasly doesn't retire from this, he's going to keep trying to go all the way to the checkered flag. And then Charles Leclerc, I think, already is beginning to struggle on his set of medium compound tyre, and hopefully we can try and have a bit of a look for a run. Oh, late on the brakes. A little bit more aggressive than I wanted there. I was hoping just to slide on by, but having a little bit of a moment, and that'll send him a little bit further back, as, like I said, the biggest thing that's concerning me about that Alpine is that we're probably going to lap them again before the end of the afternoon. So we've got yellows out down through that final corner. I can't see any kind of, like, tyre marks or anything like that. So they're just spinning around down in turn 1. It's Pierre Gasly who just keeps going around. Has he got, like, a puncture or something? Or has he got front wing damage? I can't see what's actually going on with the Alpine there. But either way, I've lapped him. There's everybody now trying to move their way through. That's got to be the dumbest glitch I've seen on F1 25. So I think he's gone round again then, as we are now trying to get a run on Oscar Piastri. We've got another red flag.
No overtaking, please. We'll see you in the pit lane.
And that means, obviously, the rain is going to be here for the restart, I can only assume. And this race just gets even more dramatic. Obviously, that would have been Gasly that brought out that red flag, and hopefully they've disqualified him for trying to compete with that car.
Change our strategy for the rest of the Grand Prix if we want to.
I've got to go soft. So we've got to go soft for these final few laps, especially if the rain's going to start falling as well. But what a bizarre race it has been here from Marina Bay so far. And there is still time for some twists and turns. 5 red lights are on once again. It's going to be lights out, and away we go there. Starts have not been my strong point all night, but this time round, we've actually done pretty well there as to the outside of Piastri. Down through turn 1, we will try and go. The McLaren man's going to try and defend it on the inside line through the exit of the corner, but around the outside, and up then into P2 of this race. Finally back into second spot then, maybe helped, of course, by that second red flag. But when is the rain going to start falling here? Let's listen in.
Yet, but it is coming, so be careful. Okay,
was around the outside of Oscar we will go. But there we go then. So that rain is definitely about to start falling. Will we have to make a switch to inters before the checkered flag? Whatever is going on with Pierre Gasly's car still seems to be happening in this GP. And well, with 3 laps to go after this one, we might genuinely lap him again. No idea, like I said still, what is going on with Pierre Gasly's car, but Verstappen just got a couple of extra tenths of a second in the back pocket over us. We are trying to bring home this second place. I mean, what do you do if you're Laurent Mekies? Do you tell Max to let us by when you've got a championship to win? Or do you let him bag his first victory of the year? It has been a tough old season for the Dutchman, and this has been a brutal race to try and win. Well, 2 laps to go then here from Singapore, and Oscar Piastri, I think that medium tyre gamble might now finally be starting to pay off for him there, as we will send it around the outside through turn 1, just like keep the car inside track limits. But if anything, we've got to just try and help defend for Verstappen now, or late on in the day. Don't make the same mistake I did early on, but I don't think it's going to help anyway. Oscar Piastri gets a huge run on us down the Raffles Boulevard, and we'll move back up then into P2 late on. I knew we had to try and gamble the soft just to see if we could take them to the checkered flag, and obviously have that grip off of the restart. Hey, it's not even raining yet. What is Mark recommending to us? He reckons Inters now? Surely not. Surely it's worth obviously just staying out one more lap here, unless this rain becomes undrivable immediately. But, I mean, it already feels very, very tricky as we try and get the power down. What will Verstappen and Piastri do? I mean, I can't really afford to pit. Surely you can't make up a pit stop's worth in just one lap here. But with Gasly, still on the road, no! Oh, we've just locked up and gone straight on. Luckily, able to keep it out the wall there as we get going again. And, well, I'd rather that than we end up out of the Grand Prix and scoring no points at all. But this dramatic Singapore Grand Prix has just taken another twist late on in the day. Gasly's in from a lap down, Verstappen's in, Oscar Piastri's in, but some drivers are staying out. Leclerc's staying out there. We've got to do the same. One more lap to go of the Singapore Grand Prix, and suddenly now we're back into the podium places. As how much will Leclerc and Hamilton struggle here? They've both got a golden opportunity. I think Leclerc's won a race this year, but I don't believe Hamilton has. As making our way out, looks like Norris has opted to stay out there as well. So I think it was definitely the right call for us. But Hamilton, surely, on those mediums, is going to have a big old advantage at the moment. As I mean, we've got no grip whatsoever. You can see the car sliding around so badly. But will Verstappen be able to recover and potentially get back up towards us by the end of the afternoon? He's not that far behind. And this is just ridiculous. This has got to be one of the craziest races I've had on F1 25. You've got half the field struggling, limping around the track, trying to just get to the checkered flag. I mean, this car already felt oversteery enough this weekend. Now it feels utterly ridiculous.
Come on, let's go and switch over if you need to.
It's the last lap of the Grand Prix, Mark. What on earth are you on about, buddy? As we're just trying to hang on the road at the moment. Verstappen, whereabouts is he on the track? I can't even see him on my mini-map anymore. No idea where he is. Must be stuck up behind someone here, but I think we're struggling a whole lot worse than most other drivers. But Leclerc, suddenly now, out of nowhere, has not led a single lap all day. But it looks like he's going to lead the one that really matters when all is said and done there. Charles Leclerc in towards the final few corners of the Singapore Grand Prix, as we are just dancing around trying to keep it out of the walls. I think Leclerc's going to do it. Hamilton, once again, of course, usually a master in these kind of conditions as well. He's not going to have enough. Charles Leclerc and Ferrari back on top here in Marina Bay. Can we try and hang on for a podium? Or will Ollie Behrman maybe get his first ever career top 3 as well? We're going to have to defend the inside line in towards those final few corners. Will we have the grip to hang on? Yes, we just about will.
Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes.
Charles Leclerc, what a drive, what a victory. He wins.
Wow, that race really kept us on our toes with the ever-changing weather conditions. It is so unpredictable when you're in the car, with visibility being limited to know exactly what's going on. So the driver really made some great calls in this situation.
And it's time for that special moment for our special 3 today. The podium awaits our top 3 finishers. And that is a fabulous win. And the top step of the podium for Charles Leclerc.
Well, I honestly thought then heading on to that final lap, we had bottled the chance at a podium. I never expected Verstappen and Oscar Piastri to pit, and it's safe to say it was not the right call, and Verstappen's first win of the year, well, it'll have to wait yet another day. Charles Leclerc reigns supreme here in Singapore, 1 second ahead of Lewis Hamilton. We barely hang on for P3, denying Ollie Behrman his first ever Formula 1 podium, as a fantastic day for Haas in 4th and 5th spot there. Lando Norris, a good recovery drive to 6th, just ahead of Verstappen, Piastri, Bortoleto and Carlos Sainz rounding out the top 10. Sainz on a 4-stop strategy today. That is very, very good going. Liam Lawson narrowly misses out on what I believe would have been VCarb's first points of the year, but Antonelli, Colapinto, Albon and Esteban Ocon all failing to see the checkered flag, and despite everything that went on, Gasly only finished 1 lap down. What does that do, though, to our World Championship? Well, it means now we have a 1-win buffer ahead of Lando at the top of the table once again. That victory catapults Charles Leclerc back into 3rd, ahead of Oscar Piastri there. As Albon still ahead of Sainz and Max Verstappen. Hamilton now up over the 100-point threshold, as Behrman now jumps ahead of Andrea Kimi Antonelli into 11th spot overall. Lance Stroll there still just behind the young Italian. And then you can see, yeah, still Lawson, Doohan and Hadjar yet to score a point this year, as Bortoleto, yep, that was his first point of the year, so very well done to him. Constructors-wise, McLaren still 20 clear of Red Bull, though, so he didn't quite make the gains I was hoping for this weekend. Ferrari still in 4th ahead of Aston Martin there by just 7 points, as Mercedes still hang on to 6th ahead of Haas, who obviously just give themselves a huge amount of daylight ahead of Kick Sauber and Alpine. VCarb still yet to score. Thank you all so much for watching. If you've made it to the end, I hope you enjoyed, because that has got to be one of the most ridiculous races I've ever done inside F1 25. We will be back, though, very soon out for the US Grand Prix.